Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's been a while since I uploaded a video. Pretty much took a couple months off. It didn't work, so I felt like I needed a rest, and I went on vacation. So I didn't do anything. I apologize now if it's really dark. There, that should help you a little bit. We're back on the road now. It's February. We're still in some bad winter conditions. I'm on Highway 3 right now, going to southern Calgary to pick up a partial. And we're on snow-covered roads, so it's slow going about 70 kilometers an hour, because if I go any faster, I lose traction. And I have studded winter tires on my truck, so gotta take time. But yeah, it's 10:15 p.m. BC time. Ooh, nice little hill here. And yeah, we're gonna go pick up a I think it's a tiller. It's like a tractor thing that turns up dirt. We also picked up a partial today, which was 2 sign trailers, like the speed sign trailers things for going to Grand Prairie. And that's what we're doing right now. Well, since we have the lights here, let's have a good look at the load. I don't think we lost anything yet. The load's kind of a hit or miss, but that was a shit show this morning. They told me to be there for 9 a.m. sharp. If I'm late, I won't get loaded today. So I told the girl, 40-foot hot shot. I don't know how you get the word dry van from hot shot, but showed up for the load. They declined me to have the load and said that my equipment wasn't adequate enough to load this. And the guy was saying that, oh, it needs to be in a dry van. Our customer says it needs to be in a dry van. And so I called the customer thinking he changed it. Customer's like, no, we move those on 40-foot hot shots all day long, every day. We have like 80 of them that move on hot shot trailers. So I called back. I went back in and I said, my customer says he did not say dry van. He chose to have it on a 40-foot hot shot. And he said, well, nope, our customer, and he lists off someone's name. Well, it turns out that the sister company of the warehouse that does dry van shipping said that load has to be in the dry van. And kind of funny there. I'm going to give you 3 guesses to determine what kind of company it is, and you'll get it on the first one. But they've refused to release the load pretty much, all right? And I argue with them. I don't put up with that shit. And there's a lot of companies out there now that if you're not the same color skin as them, they give you a hard time. Because they can. They know they can. So I was just saying, screw it. I called the guy out on his bullshit immediately. I was like, buddy, you're just lying to me. I was like, this is a load of crock. And then I measured it. And I told him, after measuring it, I was like, hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you could put that in a dry van trailer right now. And he just looked at me funny. He's like, what? I was like, I'll give you $1,000 if you could put that in a dry van trailer. And he just looks at it and looks at me, and I tell him, because it's too tall for a dry van, it's too wide for a dry van. So I don't know how you're getting in a dry van trailer. The load is 8'6" wide. The dry van trailer is usually around 8 feet to like 8'2" of cargo space capacity or whatever it is. Like, you have the walls and stuff that you can't go over 8'6". So it's a wide load, and it was also a foot taller than the dry van's hole, like to insert stuff. So it's just absolutely hilarious that this guy was fighting with me about putting in a dry van. And then I told him, and I do this all the time to brokers, like, hey man, I don't care, this is going on my trailer today. At the end of the day, it's $155 an hour I bill you at. And I was like, you don't pay, I send you to collections. It's as simple as that. As long as I'm on your yard, I'm going to send you a bill for $155 an hour. So if you want to do this, that's all you. After that, and about 20 minutes later, he gave me a position, put me ahead of the line, got me loaded up right away. It's almost like when you threaten to charge them for money, and they know that if you send them to collections, they straight up have to pay it. I'm the only one that can remove it off the collections report. And at the end of the day, if they cause the delay, I'm billing them for the delay. They tried to scam my customer twice. CBSA, Canadian Border Agency, whatever the hell it is. They took the sea can that came from China and then put a search on it, took the trailers out. They charged him $1,200 to bring it to a warehouse to get searched, and then they charged him $150 a day for storage. And then he paid it, and they said, okay, you have 4 days grace period once it's cleared to get it loaded. So he paid it. It was like $1,500. And then today they called him back when they were in the middle of loading me, saying, oh, they can't release the paperwork because he has to pay the storage fees. And I was like, what? And yeah, he straight up, they called the customer, telling me he owes the same amount of money. They try to double bill him. And they argued with him, saying they never got it. And so he had to send them a receipt. He sent it to me as well to prove that he paid for it. And I was like, buddy, I have it loaded. It's like, I'm chaining it down. I was like, I'll just leave. I'm done dealing with this. It's like, I'll make my own paperwork. I don't need their import docs. Once it's in Canada and it's certified, I can go on the website, I can log in, I can download all the documentation for imports. That's not a problem. PARS is fairly simple to get that stuff figured out. And so, just a headache. So then I got called by Trusted Dispatch. They had a load that had priority, and this is the tiller. They need it ASAP. It needs to be in Chetwynd, BC by Wednesday. It's now almost Tuesday. It's currently 10:21 at night on Monday. We did our resit and hope because the weather was dog shit. And I thought, I was looking at the weather report, and it says like, oh yeah, it's going to improve around 9:30 tonight. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll shut her down, get my 8-hour reset in. I'll get half of my clock back, and then I'll probably take a break for an hour or two, and then I'll get my full clock back. So yeah, so we'll get to Alberta today by noon, and then we'll do another 8-hour reset, and then we'll bomb up to Grand Prairie to drop off our first chunk. And then we'll bomb to Chetwynd to drop off the second chunk, and then we're off to Saskatchewan to pick up an F350, then back to Hinton to grab a Ram 3500, down to Abbotsford to drop those off, and then I think we're back home for the weekend, and then we got to pick up a couple of cars. We got to pick up a Dually and then a Ford Mustang this weekend. So lots of work. I literally have told people straight up that I am taking a month off. And when I texted all my customers, I said, hey, I need a month off. I need a time off. So they were all upset, but I have other drivers now. So I guess you guys haven't known that. I got 2 other drivers now that work for us. So those guys took up the load, so they were happy. And then when I texted a customer saying, hey, I'm going back on the road in beginning of February, what do you guys want me to do? And next thing you know, boom, I'm booked for pretty much most of February already. It's been pretty awesome. Like, I built up a pretty good clientele, and now Loadlink is contacting me to try to get me to ship on their behalf, which is funny because they're so expensive, and Loadlink, like, they say they have hotshot loads, but I've looked at their load board before in demonstrations and with other people's accounts, and I don't see hotshot loads on that at all, ever. Or like there's partials, like for example, like 7,000, 8,000 pound partials, or skid steers, like a pack of skid steers kind of thing. But there's never any, how can I explain this? There's no like straight up full load 40-foot hotshot demand trailers, and the money's not there for the hotshot trailer either. That is the big thing with rocking a 40-foot hotshot, is sometimes you're too small for 53-foot step deck loads, and sometimes the loads that are on there don't pay enough, and they take up so much space. Like if I had a 53-foot step deck, which is the future, like I do plan to get into a Peterbilt semi rig at some point, but when you get there, it's like on a step deck, when you have a 10-foot step deck, and then you have your 40 or 30, 43 feet lower deck, you can do that stuff, right? You can take a 10-foot partial on the drives or so and so, but when you take a 10-foot partial on a hotshot trailer, it's only paying $1,000 to go like 1,000 kilometers. It's not worth it unless you have something else to fill the trailer. But with a hotshot load, like you can't put 40,000 pounds on this trailer, right? You can only put 17,000 pounds. It's the max I can get on it by shifting the load around and maxing out my drives and maxing out the trailer. So I'm allowed to have 10,000 pounds on my drives on this truck. In BC, or at least in Canada, we use axle weights once you get over a certain weight limit. From my understanding, from what I was told by CBSE, There's a GVW in the truck, but that they only go, make sure you're above 6,000 to haul the 40-foot hotshot. If you're under 6,000 kg GVWR on your truck, you can't haul anything bigger than 41 feet, supposedly. So the laws all changed, and that's how that is. But I'm 6,700 and something kg for the truck. So they go based on axle weight. So my steers, I'm allowed to have 6,000 pounds. For my drives, I'm allowed to have 10,000 pounds. So 16,000, I think it's 16.5 or something like that is my allowed maximum weight on the truck, even though it says 14,000. And so I've gotten 17,000 pounds on the trailer behind the truck, and it worked out good. Never had any issues. I don't push my equipment too hard. So yes, I can load it up and put it to work, but I don't like try to ram up hills. I don't floor it. The truck's not turned up when I'm climbing hills, so it doesn't get abused all that much. Although we did have that one tire pop off on the old truck, but apparently under investigation we determined that the studs were stressed out, or they were because I serviced the truck so often, I didn't know this was a thing. But apparently if you rotate your tires every 10,000 kilometers, which I do on a regular basis on that white truck, there's only so many times you can yield to torque or something like that, those studs, before they have to be replaced. So now I've just added wheeled studs to the annual maintenance. So when it goes in for a CVIP, I just book it in to get the studs changed. It only takes like 10 minutes a tire. Like I think the mechanic that did it at the shop there, I did it in a parking lot in under 10 minutes, for God's sake, with not even the proper tools. So yeah, so it's all good. So we figured it out. We found out what happened. We sorted it out. The dually, on the other hand, I shouldn't have to do that because these bolts are fucking huge on this truck. On the 1-ton, the 16 1-ton single rear wheel, they're like 21 mil nuts. Like they're nothing, no big deal. On this truck, they're like 1 1/8, and it's insane. It's like real. It's a lot beefier stud, and it's like the torque's also a lot higher too. So I don't know what was that, but it is what it is. And oh, hello. It's a drop. Oh, it's -3. It's like it dropped temperature pretty drastically there. But yeah, we figured that out. I'm driving in tugboat. This is the blue dually. I don't know if I haven't gone back to watch any of my old videos yet. I don't know if I introduced this truck to you guys yet. It's a 2017 Ram 3500 standard output. It's not a high output. Yeah, I had to get a dually because the rules changed in order to haul a 40-foot hotshot trailer. I wasn't allowed to do it on the white truck anymore. The laws changed for safety reasons. I don't know why. This GPS is like absolutely out to lunch right now. Oh, I think it's because I'm recording in 4K. My nav is like chunking. So I had to buy the dually. I bought this in September, used it for a couple months, and then she just sat there collecting dust for a couple of months. Had to get it CVIT and had to do some work to get the CVIT passed. I got pulled over, by the way, 7 times since our last video. With this truck, I got 7 tickets in December. In the span of 2 weeks, I got 7 tickets, and all of them for bullshit. And when I say bullshit, I mean genuine bullshit. The first one was on the low boy, the 22-foot we have, inoperative lights, or failed to maintain lights or something like that. I don't have the ticket on me to determine what the exact rule was, but he saw a wire hanging down, and he gave me a ticket for marker lights and failing to maintain them, also failing to display a single number plate. And so from there, because the plate was under the dovetail, you could see it. Anyone in the last 2 years could see it, but this officer couldn't, and he wrote me a ticket for it. And then he tried to write me a ticket for a bunch of other stuff too, but he couldn't get it to stick, because he would talk to me and he was like, oh, about this. He tried to get me for not running a logbook, and then I was like, I have a logbook. You didn't ask for it during the traffic stop. All he asked was for my binder. And then he's saying I should just give that to him right off the hop. And I was like, that's not how that works. You have to request it because he has to put in his email, the reasoning, and then the motive will send him the logbook. It's not like a paper log where I just hand it over to him, right? I'm not handing over my phone. I told him that straight up. was like, I'll block the phone. You can type in your email and the reason you want to check them. So you put RCMP check or scale check. But as far as that goes, I'm not going to hand you my phone and have you walk away with it. It's not happening. Not in this day and era. Not a chance. But, yeah, so it was just that. And then the second one, we went across the scale in Kamloops eastbound. And we got a ticket for unregistered vehicle. Failing to comply with IFTA. I think it was like no fuel tax. And then I think those are the only twos that I got. Oh yeah, and the safety fitness. That one he tried looking up. They were having problems with the scale, so he wrote me a ticket for no valid safety fitness and no NSC. And I was like, I have an NSC number, and I carry a public profile with me to show that. And I also have a safety fitness certificate in my binder, and that wasn't good enough for him. So he wrote me 3 tickets at the scale house, and I had to remove the window tint. It was too dark for them. I've always had 20% on the front glass. I've never had a problem, but it's charcoal is the one that DOT likes to see. If you have tint, they like seeing the charcoal color, so the same color as the tint in the back. They do not like seeing the purplish tint. They hate that shit. They don't like it. It does mess up your view. A lot of people don't realize that. Like at night, your eyeballs can't see through purple all that well, whereas the charcoal, you can see out the window like it is right now, pretty much. So I was like, I already told him, I was planning to remove the tint anyways because it was shitty tint. I think it's onyx or something like that. I think that's the actual tint color or something. It's like, turns out bluish, blackish color, and then it turns to like purple over a year or so of UV damage. So whatever, I got it removed, and that was the other thing there. Sorted out the other tickets. His problem is he couldn't look up my prorate sticker and my IFTA. He couldn't look up the company information for what the documents I provided him. And he called like 5 different numbers, and they were all saying they were having system issues, and he decided to issue me tickets. The NSC one, I got chucked out immediately because I came back the next day, and the girl pulled me over for not having a valid NSC because the plate was flagged, and then found it. Never had a problem. And for prorate and IFTA, Alberta's so far behind on their prorate that, yeah, no, it's fully my fault. Like, I just registered the truck for $15,500 and just sent it down the road, and I just kept pulling permits, and apparently that wasn't the right thing to do. You need to register your truck for $11,793 and then pull permits. That makes you legal. But if you go any higher, you have to have prorate and IFTA to have those weights, even if you pull permits. So who knows? I wasn't gonna argue with it. It wasn't worth the time because it was like $60 for the tickets or something like that. So I just paid them. And then the third traffic stop, this was the doozy. This was the one that was really annoying and just chapped my ass. Because the officer clearly was uneducated about how things work. And he was not a commercial vehicle person. He was just the RCMP based out of Kamloops. And he pulled me over initially because he couldn't see my decals on the side of the truck. I was caked in mud and salt and sand and everything else like that. So the decals were buried under a mound of dirt that I got from driving through a farmer's place, and the farmer's driveway is like, what was it, like 20 something kilometers of mud. So I was like, yeah, of course it's covered in mud, but it is what it is. I'm not going to scratch the shit out of my truck so you can fucking have a gander at the sticker. All it says is my company name and where I'm from. Pull the plate if you want to see the rest of the details. But anyway, he pulled me over. That was a 2.5-hour traffic stop. That was insane. That was the worst traffic stop I've ever had in my life. And he was gonna write me for everything. Like, when he came up to the window and asked for my books, logbook immediately, and he started doing inspections, and then he had me turn my truck back on, and he looked underneath and saw it was deleted. And he was like, he's like, I'm gonna have to impound your truck. And I was like, excuse the fuck out of me. It's like, for what? And he's like, well, you're failing to comply with emission standards. That's what it was, emissions. And I said, okay. I was like, buddy, we're gonna pump the brakes right here. And this is where I went from respecting the officers to just, I did not give a fuck. I'll be honest with you. I will respect an officer if they show me respect. He did not show me respect at all. And immediately I was like, hey, I'm gonna put you a ticket for a cracked windshield that I got 40 minutes prior to the traffic stop, and didn't. He's like failing to report it on my logbook. There's nowhere to pull over to register. So I was like, I argued with him on the side of the road. I was like, so should I have stopped in the center of the highway and put it in my logbook and took a photo and did a walk around and make sure everything else was safe and block traffic, or should I have waited till I got into this town, which I had to get to, and I got pulled over literally when I was pulling into a parking lot to start the process. I was so annoyed. And then he gave me a ticket for failing to comply with safety and then failing to comply with logbook. And he got out and he measured it with a fucking measuring tape. And it was 30.2 centimeters. 0.2 centimeters too long for a crack for commercial vehicles. I couldn't believe that. Anyhow, after an hour, he came back. There was 5 cops at this point. 2 of them know who I am, and they were coming over just to talk to me because I'm good friends with them. So we're talking, shooting the shit. This cop, 2 of them went over and talked to this guy, and a 3rd cop went and talked to this guy. Asked him like, "Hey, what's going on? We know this guy." And they turned around, and he was not happy. He was so pissed off, or for whatever reason, he rolled up his window when someone was trying to talk to him. One of the officers was trying to talk to him. He just rolled up his window. And then the other cop came back up and he's like, "I don't know what the hell you did, but that guy does not like you." I was like, "I didn't do anything." I was like, "But I put him in his place." And so he started calling around. He started calling all these people to see if, like, he came out and told me that straight up that I had like almost $5,000 worth of tickets coming. And I immediately got on the phone with the lawyer. Immediately. I was like, "I'm going to jail. I'm going to need bail." Because usually when you get tickets that high, you're getting arrested. You did something severe. And I don't know what the fuck I did, but this guy said I did all these things. And he didn't tell me. He just said, "You have about $5,000 worth of tickets. It's going to take a bit to do all the paperwork." And when he came back up to get my NSC information, because he gave me back my binder, he just took the registration and insurance, and he came back for the trailer inspection, the CVIP, and the NSC information. Then my lawyer was on speakerphone there on the truck, and he was talking to me, and my attorney spoke up and said, "You can direct all questions to me. I'm Steven's attorney." And I was like, "Yeah, you told me I got $5,000 worth of tickets." Like, I figured we gotta get the lawyer involved. And all of a sudden, he's like, his attitude fucking changed. He just took the paperwork, came back with $388 worth of tickets, and a big ass list of NOA, or notice of order. And one was fix the windshield. I had to get a new sticker for the trailer for the inspection. He didn't like it that it was on the bottom frame. He wanted it on the tongue. So I had to call the guys who did my inspection. They didn't charge me for it. They just put a new sticker on the tongue where all the VIN is and stuff. Because he had a hard time seeing it in the dirt. It's like, that's not my problem, bud. But, so yeah, so he issued that as no sort of, and then the next one is I got a ticket for inadequate muffler and exhaust. And then he put in there that I have to put in the CVIP, I have to put the DEF, SOD, and the DOC, and a muffler and resonator back to factory specifications from Ram in order to make my truck compliant. And I have 30 days to do so. He's like, "I'll give you 30 days to do this." Like, kiss my ass. And then I tried to explain to him, like, in Alberta, we are legally allowed to delete our trucks. We're allowed to be deleted in Alberta. It's in the commercial CVIP program. You look up the manual for commercial vehicle CVI manual. It says omit in Alberta on all emission systems. Catalytic converters, DPF, EGR, urea, or whatever the hell that purple panther piss they shoot into the exhaust system is. All that is allowed to be deleted on a truck in Alberta for commercial use. He refused to accept that and ripped off my CVIT sticker off my window and said that my CVIT wasn't valid and he can't speak on shady shops. He said, "You need to go to the manufacturer." And I was like, wow, it's gonna be really fucking awkward in court when you gotta pay for a new CVIT inspection sticker, which is $290. And on top of that, it was the manufacturer who did the CVIT. It was Dodge who did it. I was like, so you tell me who's wrong here? Man, the manufacturer did my commercial vehicle inspection and passed it based on Alberta law, and you just came up and ripped my fucking sticker off. Like, what the hell? So yeah, so I no longer have a blue sticker in my window. I already got stopped at the scale house. They're looking for it. I was like, your officer ripped it off. Here's the inspection. Thank God I have copies in the truck. So he didn't take the original document, but he took a copy. And then I had to give it to the scale house, and the guy's like, why do you rip it off? And then he even said himself, everyone knows that Alberta allows deleted trucks for the commercial fleet. That's allowed. That's legal. I was like, well, this cop didn't know it, so now we have a court date. And he refused. In the way that he ended the traffic stop, like, I wasn't going to be too much of a fuss. If you would have gave me a no muffler ticket, I would have just paid it. But it was the notice of order fixing the truck that gave me the chapped ass. Not only that, when he walked up after, like, I pretty much had 4 cops. I was laughing with them, shooting the shit. I was out of the truck talking with them. And we're just talking about guns and shit like that. And we're just shooting the shit. And then we're having a good time. This cop walks up and literally just goes, you're free to go, and just throws my paperwork into the truck, across all over the fucking seats and everything. Driver's license, everything. He didn't even put the paperwork back in the sleeves. He had it all loose and just threw it all over the truck. I was like, oh. And everyone in that there was like, that's not right. And one guy actually went in and talked to him, was like, that was not appropriate. That is not how you treat people. And I was like, and so I'm taking him to court, and I asked for a discovery, and they're refusing to give me the body cam footage because he had one of those cameras on. They're refusing to give it to me. They already sent me what they sent for document and research, and the initial reason for the pullover, but the cop will not show up to court. He didn't show up for any of the hearings so far, and he won't release the body cam footage. And I already told the prosecutor why he won't do it. I was like, it's because he was a shithead and didn't know what he was doing, and he was an absolute ass, and he doesn't want that being displayed in court. I was like, that's fine. So my lawyer subpoenaed him to be a witness, so now he has to show for the next court date, or he has a warrant for his arrest. And since I had a little bit of the recording footage, and it shows the officer had the body cam footage, I had to subpoena the guys I know, and they all said, yeah, we'll give you the body cam footage. I already got 2 of them already. Like 48 hours, I already have 2 of the body cam footage from the other officers. I also have him throw in on 2 of the officers' cameras where he threw the paperwork into the truck and said, you're free to go, and just left and stormed off. I have that on video. So I was like, okay. And I asked the cop there, 2 of them who are friends, I was like, can they delete that stuff? He's like, no. It's locked up, like it's on a cloud server. You can't alter it, you can't modify it. You can download it, and that's it. And it's like saved for a certain amount of time. They wouldn't really disclose how long, but they said that they have the footage, and he's like, you just have to go chase it down. So that's what we're in the process of doing. But I already pretty much showed the prosecutor that the law's on my side. I just want the judge to rule in my favor, so I can laminate a piece of paper. So if I have this issue again, I go, hey, here's the court filing documents that says I'm allowed to be deleted. Can't argue with the judge. If you hand a cop a document like that, and it's like, hey, it's laminated, it's signed by a judge saying I'm allowed to be deleted, what's a cop gonna do? Their rule overtrumps any law. And like I had tried to explain to the officer, I'm from Alberta, right? My truck, my company, my driver's license, the insurance, everything is based out of Alberta, which is the jurisdiction of which this truck has to abide by laws. Just because a truck drives into BC doesn't mean it has to comply to BC safety inspections. There's an agreement amongst all the provinces and territories that you'll see each other's commercial vehicle inspections as an equal, right? That you won't violate any of the other ones or whatever the crap. There's like a fancy term Transport Canada uses. But yeah, he just went about the wrong way. And every other person I spoke to, all the other cops, all knew that I was allowed to have it. This cop just refused to. And then after I was talking to a couple of guys in the community at the tire shop there, and I guess there was a couple of guys there. There's like a welding group there. There's like a bunch of people there getting some work done. I was getting my e-brake fixed after it broke. And they all said, yeah, everyone knows that Alberta's allowed to be deleted. And then when I told them the cop's name, they all know him by name because of the bullshit he's pulled. So he's a bit of a shithead in the community there, it turns out. And that a lot of people said, yeah, they don't like him because he doesn't know the law. And then I find out that he's actually not even certified to do inspections on commercial vehicles. And he's been warned twice not to do it. And he's not listening to the warnings from his supervisor. So this guy has issued tickets already to commercial